My name is Thailand Pham, and I'm a writer at People Magazine. I'm here with an amazing group of restaurateurs and chefs. We've plucked straight out of the heart of the food industry, and they're incredibly inventive and creative and amazing, knowledgeable people whose brains we're going to borrow just for an hour while we discuss this topic of Asian fusion. Like what it is, what it's different, how is it different now than the Asian fusion you thought you knew, and how it's going to sort of change the culinary landscape. And basically start with what Asian fusion is. And I mean, I feel like everyone has a different definition of it, whether it's fusing cuisines that are Asian together or Asian cuisines with Western or Eastern cuisines. So please kind of describe like what you think Asian fusion is.
The word fusion doesn't really make sense for me as a restaurateur, and for a cuisine like dim sum, which it's a very tried and true, a cuisine that you have that dates back to thousands of years, in China. So for me, I kind of don't use that word in my restaurant, but it's merely a way for me to how to educate people on this particular cuisine of dim sum, and how to break the barriers of it being seen as a brunch or lunch item, and make it more like a Spanish tapas, where it really is just small plates and it's made for sharing. So, my thoughts on fusion is really trying to educate people on how to change something that's perceived to be a lunch, a brunch item, or a breakfast item into something that's good for dinner. Educate people on how to, give proper descriptions of dim sum. If you're like in a dim sum hall and people are wheeling carts and you kind of know what things are, it's really my job to kind of educate these people, customers or consumers, that, hey, what's that? And that's, chicken feet, or that's spare ribs, So that's my take on fusion.
I'm also very curious in how, much like you were saying, you've used your restaurant to educate, and not just fusion, but in terms of modernization, in terms of very specific ways that you've all decided to make your restaurants. In what ways have you all tried to educate your diners, if at all? Is there something that you feel like your restaurant is bringing it specifically to light?
I would kind of have to agree. I mean, I think educating your consumers is the best way to do it. But for me, I actually put pictures on my menus, just so that they know, and what chicken feet looks like, or what eggplant with shrimp looks like, So when you're using your senses, your visual sense, you can actually point at that and check it off on the menu and order it. So I think that sort of for Chinese dim sum, traditionally, everything is wheeled around in a cart, and you kind of just use your eyes and you point to pick out the items when you're at a traditional place. For me, I felt that ordering off a menu will kind of keep the integrity of the food a little better. Things are made when you order it, so all the food is extra fresh when it comes out. It's not sitting on a cart for God knows how long. So that's my take on kind of dim sum at Nom Wah now.
Has anyone ever come up to you and been like, tacos and Korean food, or dim sum at night, or what's this different spin on it, or even the Filipino food? Just please share how people have responded to your efforts.
To answer your question about like the dim sum for dinner thing, I remember when I first decided to reopen the restaurant, and my dad asked me what my hours would be. I said maybe 11 to 10 or something like that, and he's like, 11 to 10, like you're gonna miss your whole dim sum breakfast. I'm like, that's okay. I kind of didn't want to wake up so early to begin with. So growing up, dim sum was primarily like a Saturday and Sunday. You wake up in the morning at 9 o'clock, you go with your parents to go with dim sum in the morning. I was never able to really wake up that early, out hanging out with my friends or whatnot. So my whole thing with Nom Wah was reopening it was, I'm opening at 11 just so I can sleep in a little more. But we'll stay open till 10. And my pops was like, you're serving the same food for dinner, you're not going to change anything. I'm like, no, I'm just going to serve dim sum for dinner and see how it goes. And you know what? It's been really well received. I mean, like our dinner service is sometimes double our lunch, and it's the same exact food. And you know, I just equate it to, it's just like tapas. You know, it's like Spanish tapas, the small plates. Why not do it for dinner? Why does it have to be a breakfast or a lunch thing when you can just do it for dinner? So just that kind of change, like from a generational aspect, was huge in the beginning, but now it's just well received.
Culinary idols or mentors or inspirations are in terms of having started your business. Is there anyone in particular that you kind of drew inspiration from?
Is really, you know, not any one in particular, but it's really like my whole family has really given me like a really good support structure to go back into the restaurant industry. You know, I'm coming from like a finance guy that turned into a restaurateur, really because like my family support. Like my uncle has had this restaurant for 50 years and has kept it really the same, and him and my folks really telling me, hey, you should you know, kind of take it over and revive it, because it was kind of falling apart a little bit. So I really look up to my family to give me the support to really continue with the restaurant and make it succeed.
We all know it's really risky to start a restaurant in especially New York. So I'm just curious if you all had formal business plans, if you like, or were you just kind of walking down St. Mark's and saw a location and said, this is the right spot? Or, you know, how you kind of went about starting your businesses?
I think it was, you got to have some sort of finances, A, and B, a lot of luck. You know, you got to be really, keep your fingers crossed, have a lot of luck, definitely have a good business plan, a good product and innovation.